The same religion that's capable of hideous acts of destruction can also be capable of moments of healing, of restoration, and of hope.
But educate a girl, and you educate her entire family.
There is a sun within every person.
When that anger sets in, write it. Write the letters, but don't send them. You never want to leave concrete proof of insanity.
Thank you. Man, this is a great campus. You almost forget how amazing and special this place is. I'm just driving up the coast, and just feels really good to be back. I actually found a parking spot, which I thought was amazing, because I never did when I was in college here. And then I almost got hit by a bike, so I know it's back here. The way in, I almost got hit by a skateboarder, so things are progressing nicely. And I did see some people protesting outside, which was fun when I was here. I think we were protesting Iraq as well, interestingly enough. I saw some Woodstock's signs. I remember those pizzas and beers maybe. And most of all, I did see some waves coming up, which is part of the reason why I came here. UC Surfboard, as we used to call it in high school. So it's really good to be back. And let's see, I was asked to speak about my background, entrepreneur endeavors, the MySpace journey, and my newest venture at Slingshot Labs, which is an internet incubator, and then take a bunch of questions, because I hear you guys love to ask questions. I actually met with some students right before here, and I had to cut them off. They were so inquisitive and great students. I think you need a better GPA to get in here than I was here, because you guys are pretty on top of things. So it's good to hear some great questions. I'd love to take more. And quick background on myself. Yes, I did grow up here in Southern California, so it's definitely always been home base for me. I love having it as a home base as I travel everywhere. But I grew up in Calabasas, where I went to high school, and did end up coming here at UCSB. After that, for education, I did get my business degree at a really, really amazing entrepreneur school called USC, which is they have an outstanding program as well. Got to promote USC. Quick story in choosing UC Santa Barbara, or as I just mentioned, UC Surfboard. Being a California native, after finishing up high school, I had a choice to go to any college in the country, as long as it started with UC. So, due to tuition costs, and so of course, growing up surfing, I had to choose this school, which was an amazing experience. I don't know why, I was joking around, I don't know why I finished in 4 years. I should have been here at least 5, but I did finish up in 4 years. And I didn't start at Santa Rosa. Actually, I picked Santa Cruz because it was closer to Campus Point. So that's where I actually did start. And what did I do? When I first came to school here, like probably a lot of people when they first come up, I had no idea what I was going to do. I just liked the whole experience, and I was trying to figure out, I don't know if I came undeclared, or I chose econ because I was good at math, so I figured probably close enough to econ. And I did that, and I kind of knew I'd want to go. I was from an entrepreneurial family with my father and grandfather starting businesses, so I kind of figured I want to do this business major, but your school doesn't have business. You had biz econ, so that's what I ended up doing. And I don't know if they have business yet, but I think they should. So I took this biz econ major, and it was I entered the school here in '87, as I mentioned, and at the time, I was told, hey, what career paid the most? And it happened to be this accounting thing with these big 8, I think it might be only 4 left, but big 8 accounting firms actually had the most lucrative job offers for us from college. So I actually started taking these accounting classes, and somehow from sophomore year on, freshman year I didn't do so well, very distracted, but sophomore year on, I did very well in these accounting classes, and I took this CPA test and somehow passed that right away, and ended up at this place called Coopers & Lybrand, and started my career as an auditor. And for most people that know me and my personality, they're like, what in the world were you thinking? And the answer to that, it was really smart people. I was really impressed with the whole interview process. But after the first 30 days of auditing, I realized, man, I'm in the wrong spot. So I did need to finish up 2 years to actually become what you call certified public accounting. So my more conservative parent, who's out there somewhere, told me, hey, I should finish out the 2 years, and that's what I did. I kind of as my fallback career, I knew I could have a fallback career, always make money as an accountant, so I did want to become certified. So actually I waited out the 2 years, but I was thinking to myself, again, 31st day into auditing, man, this is not for me, what am I going to do? So I decided I was 22 at the time, but what I could do is take advantage of the situation that I was in. I knew I wasn't in the career for the rest of my life, but I might as well insert myself in meetings with some top executives at Fortune 500 companies. And that's what I did. Even as an accountant, I was able to get experience with CFOs and CEOs that were supposedly there because they were really bright, and most of them were, and learn about how businesses were run and learn about how businesses were put together. And that was great experience as I got a lot of exposure at a young age. And then at about the 2-year mark, I think I lasted, like I said, you had to be working for 2 years to get a certified in public accounting. So 2 years and 2 days into it, I said, I need a career change. So I was networking everywhere, which is a key theme throughout my life, and I'll leave you with that theme of networking, which has worked well many times, and you'll see me talk about it a lot. And being in LA, I figured, hey, I might as well get into this entertainment industry. It seemed like the right thing to do. There's a lot going on. So actually, through a colleague of mine from Santa Barbara, actually introduced me to somebody at 20th Century Fox, which is another theme of my life. And again, I went to Fox and I worked in finance. Instead of accounting, I said, hey, maybe I'll try finance for a while. So I did that. Started finance for 20th Century Fox, but actually after this time, it took me about 60 days to realize that I was not going to navigate my career and spend 10 years and become director and vice president of finance at Fox. I realized I got to figure out what I could leverage and take out of this place and figure out where to go next. So again, I was able to find a positive takeaway, and I learned a ton about the media business. I was able to take a finance job and migrate it over to kind of the corporate finance level where I got exposure into TV, into movies, into how studios were run. So what I did is I made sure I got into a spot where I could learn the most I had to learn. And again, it was a positive takeaway. So after 2 years, I realized, man, this accounting's not for me, this finance is not for me, I need a big career change. So what was I going to do? And people were starting to talk about business school, and a lot of my friends were going to business school, and many of them were doing this part-time business school thing while still being in finance, and I figured, I'm definitely out of there, I'm going to going into debt route, go back to business school, and kind of change careers, and that's what I did. So I applied to 2 schools because I wanted to stay in LA, and I always start a lot of my speeches by thanking UCLA because they rejected me. So I was able to get to SC, meet the people I met with, and kind of kept on my journey. So I always say thank you to UCLA for that. And I ended up at USC, which again is the word networking school, and that truly is, I never believed it till I went there. It is the most amazing place, and part of why you're in school is the people you meet. I think that's a big part of it. Education, obviously, as the professors are looking at me, is very important, but also part of it is networking and meeting people that you could potentially work with in some capacity, if not directly, but indirectly with throughout your career. So, and I think SC is where actually I met my business partner I've been working with over the last 11 years, and we had our core team that started, that later would start MySpace.com. So, and even to this day, I leverage a ton of connections at SC, being down in California, where I hire a bunch of people from the school. I do business development meetings with people from the school, and I found my other partners that helped create even the newest company I'm at today. At SC, I studied entrepreneurship and marketing there, so definitely I had the career shift. I decided I don't need to take another accounting or finance class the rest of my life. I could figure that part out. So they had a good entrepreneur program and a great marketing program where I emphasized over at USC. So during business school, I was figuring out, this was, okay, again, to give you guys a time frame, 1995 to 97. There's a little company called Google was just getting going. I think Yahoo just started about 3 years earlier. Didn't have much traction yet. They did have a lot of eyeballs. And And I kind of got intrigued by this whole internet, what was going on the internet, and people were getting online and using the internet as a resource, and I knew it was getting more and more popular. So I had a feeling I'd eventually migrate towards this new media world, but I didn't, and I wrote business plans actually at school about how I could enter this world, but I wasn't ready to start my venture yet or jump off the diving board. So again, I did something that I repeated again at Santa Barbara was I took a job at Coopers & Lybrand, but this time it was PricewaterhouseCoopers, where I became a consultant helping companies figure out their internet strategy. So again, even though I personally wasn't ready to, as I call it, jump off the diving board, get into a venture of my own, I was able to find a fallback career and learn as much as I can coaching heads of marketing and heads of strategy at different media companies figure out their internet strategy, which is extremely valuable for me as I worked on business plans. So I did this for about 2 years, or no, 2 years again, 2 years, and I was still connecting with my business school buddies, trying to figure out what to do next, and then it clicked. There was this thing called, all these companies were getting online and starting to sell stuff, so I figured, seems like a good idea, everything's migrating this way, and there was a company, and Yahoo launched Yahoo stores, and people were setting up these merchant accounts and selling things online. So while I was living in my apartment in Hermosa Beach, I had the wise idea, as many entrepreneurs do, is to convert that apartment into an office. So what I did was, my girlfriend at the time was not very happy, who's now my wife, and I said, hey, we're moving, I'm going to change this apartment to an office, and we had 8 people in there in about a week. And what I did was, this is business number 1, where we got fired up about helping merchants across the country get set up online, almost reaching out one at a time. So it was great. It was the first time I was doing something on my own. Although I say that, but I also still had my day job, which I kind of blew off a lot. So I was doing that while I was still at Pricewaterhouse. Don't tell any of the Pricewaterhouse people. And we started up with 8 people, and nights and weekends and the mornings, and sometimes at lunch I'd be over there getting that business going. I wasn't ready to dive in full-time yet because I didn't know if it was going to be a hit. I didn't know if I'd make enough money to afford it. I did know that I would, for the first time, open up my own bank account, business bank account, and drain my personal bank account, and which is what happened. And it wasn't that it was a failure. It actually, what happened was, at the same time I started this merchant account company, a business school colleague introduced me to a PR person in Santa Monica that had this amazing idea of a $1 billion opportunity. So he convinced me, forget about this merchant account, service-oriented business. We got to go for kind of the boom of the internet business, software, and not physical service, one-on-one products, but let's get something out to the masses. And he was a very good salesperson that hyped me up on the concept and convinced me to wake up at 5 in the morning and meet him at Starbucks every day for about 3 months. And we put together a business plan for a company called XDrive. And what XDrive was a internet hard drive, so you could put up all your files up on the internet instead of on your C drive. Or at the time, we actually had these floppy disks, which I don't think they're around anymore. But the concept was, hey, you can put up all your files online. Don't email your attachments around. So it sounded like a great idea, and this was back in '98, where any idea sounded great, and any idea, we were able to get a lot of money. So at the time, I'm like, man, this is crazy. I had this idea, and then a month later, someone actually gave us a check for $2 million. And then I've never seen that many zeros. I had to double check the wire transfer that came in. And it actually, you talk about the dot-com boom era of '98, and it was outstanding. I mean, we did, I think, all in all, we did 4 rounds of funding. We raised $110 million. We hired maybe like 400 people. We had a lot of good XDrive parties. We had a good burn rate. We actually had it was myself and my partner, and they brought in a lot of seasoned managers that came in. They called them the gray hair managers that changed the business model 3 or 4 times in that era, from B2C to B2B to business to carrier to bankrupt, actually, is what happened at the end. And interestingly enough, I talk about networking. Actually, our first funding came from a UCSB person named Paul Orfila, who started Kinko's. So actually, through a networking and introduction, he kind of loved the idea. I was a gaucho, and he was a gaucho, and started Kinko's here. He got all excited about the business opportunity, got caught up in the '98 dot-com era, and decided to write us our first check. So I do thank UCSB a ton for that opportunity. And like I said, it was an interesting journey and an interesting ride in that era. And in spring of 2000, everything came to a halt. The burn rates were gone. And like I said, the company actually ended up going into bankruptcy, only to be bought back. Side note, my partner on this deal bought it back a year and a half ago out of bankruptcy, I think for like $1 million, and then sold it to AOL for probably 30x that. So, hey, some things do work out. I knew Xdrive would work somewhere. So that one actually did have a positive outcome, and I got a great experience just growing a team that fast, scaling a business. Although we were spending a lot of money, I learned a lot about customer acquisition, a lot about doing business, and growing an organization. It was not a win. So again, I'm 2 companies in, 0 for 2, but I was having a good time. I was able to get a salary, and we were able to raise a lot of money. So what we did, myself and my partner, who I brought into Xdrive from business school, decided we're not going to do this burn rate thing. We're actually going to start a company and, go back to Econ 101, revenues minus costs equal profits. So right away, what we did was we started a marketing company with that understanding, and we just said, forget about this is post-bust. So what we did is I talked to a lot of entrepreneurs about this. We actually gave up 50% of the equity in the company we created, and we started with 4 of us, same guys that are at MySpace today. But this company was, we decided we wanted to do a marketing company. We wanted to help companies set up how to market themselves online, how to acquire customers online, how to market to customers once they're online, and how to monetize that. So again, we'd go out to big businesses and help them monetize their site. And the lesson, what was interesting, is we gave up 50% of our company for a check for $300,000. So back in '98, while I was trying to do these valuations and saying we created a company with little revenues and the thing's worth $300 million, and we give up a little bit of equity, we give up half our company for $300,000. And why this story always sticks with me is, again, like I mentioned, I was 0 for 2. I didn't have a win, but it was the best move I ever made, because I'd rather own 5% of a winner than 100% of nothing. And I tell entrepreneurs that all the time who are like so nervous about giving up equity and never about to do it. But if you could get the right partner, the right employee, the right vendor, the right customer for equity, it's always worth doing it, especially until you have that first success. Of course, now I wouldn't do that, but back then I needed to. So we built this company again with an Econ 101 model, and we were profitable from the second month on. We didn't even need the $300,000. I probably only used 100 of it, but we had the company rolling, and we built it up over about a year and a half, and we sold it to a public company in the summer of 2000. Actually, it was the summer of, maybe it was 2002, the beginning of 2002. We sold it to a public company called eUniverse at the time. And that's when I figured out there's a thing called an earnout, and I never knew what that was. But actually what happens is after you have a company, you sell it, they give you some money up front. Well, they tried to give us a bunch of stock, and we said we weren't interested. And then they tried to give us more stock, and we still said we weren't interested. And eventually they said, okay, we'll give you some cash. And then we sold the company. Then they have this thing called an earnout. After you sell it, you keep working there for some extra money on the side. And it was interesting timing, because this was around 2002. We worked for about a year and a half, and then something happened amazingly in 2003. And it was actually a little project called MySpace. And then we started that in 2003. And it was actually the second most amazing thing that happened in 2003. The first was I had triplets. So I always have to say that, because that's the most amazing thing that happened in 2003. And the second most is starting MySpace for me. So it is possible to have that many kids and start a business at once. I don't remember anything from 2003, so don't ask me any questions about that year. But there's a few things I kind of remember hazily, which is we were kind of sitting around on this earnout, as I said, trying to figure out what are we going to do next. And we were done with our previous company, and there was a little company called Friendster that was around. I don't know if everyone remembers Friendster, but certainly it gave us a lot of inspiration. And but they were the first, as I'd call, the term social networking wasn't invented yet. They were the first company where people were able to put up pictures of themselves online and meet other people. And they were really going after the dating market, where they figured, hey, most people would rather date friends of friends than strangers, and probably a good idea. So they started that market, and it was the first time we were sitting around in a room, and we got invited to this thing called Friendster. I got like 5 invites. My partner got 10. My other partner got 50. He's the popular guy, Tom. And we we figured out, man, there's something to this site called Friendster. So we started taking notice of it. And at the same time, we're also looking at trends going on in the internet. And we also noticed there was these blogging. We didn't even know what blogging was. It was the first time I ever heard the word. I'm like, blogging, what is this? And again, this was early 2003. And there was these sites called Zanga and LiveJournal, and the numbers of users doing these blogs were astonishing. And we're like, man, what is this blogging thing? So we had like Friendster going on here, and people were blogging on Zanga and LiveJournal over here. People were putting up everything on the site called Craigslist, and we're like, what in the world's Craigslist? So we saw that thing, and all these are very familiar names now, but we saw that thing starting to boom. So again, we're looking at what's going on in the marketplace, noticing all these trends, and figured, man, we could probably do something putting all this together. And Evite was popular at the time, and Yahoo groups. So we figured, why don't we create kind of a portal, as Yahoo is today, where Yahoo's, in my mind, was an informational portal. You go to Yahoo, get news, get sports, get finance, etc. But this is an opportunity we could create kind of this lifestyle, this social portal. And it's before the word social networking ever came about. So that's what we set out to do. And at the time, we're like, man, if we could just get 100,000 people here, it'd be amazing. And an interesting thing happened at the time, whereas Friendster really focused on becoming a dating site. They were actually deleting profiles that were bands, like music bands, and they were deleting profiles of models or profiles of buddies or profiles of you with your cool car. And we kind of felt like, hey, people should put up whatever they want. And we kind of embraced the whole note of self-expression. And we kind of went the similar approach where we wanted people to set up profiles, but we took another approach, which is about self-expression. And I think, again, it was about listening to our user base and to our customers and letting them to kind of design their page however they wanted to. So that's what we did, and we kind of set out at the beginning to do that. Now, a couple other interesting notes. At the time, we didn't even have a name for the company. I think working title, we're calling it like Yo Peeps or some crazy, terrible names, or Mingle, I don't know. But one thing I noticed is I always keep with me like a list of URLs, and I pulled it out with the guys, and we're going through it, and like I said, we started XDrive, and at the time we had all these other names that we acquired through the whole .com bust, and we owned all these internet hard drive companies, and one was Free Drive, and one was called MySpace, and I threw out the name MySpace, and everyone's like, it's not bad, and we didn't know. We're like, all right, for now we'll just keep it MySpace, we'll change it later. Nobody loved it, but turns out it actually sounds really good. So it's always good to go back in your notes and pull out those old domain registrars, and today I think almost every good name's taken. I'm learning that from my new company, but if you get some kind of creative name, it's worth keeping. And again, we went with that name, and the interesting thing happened was Friendster the technology went down a lot. So we had a lot of good fortunes. One was all these users that they were deleting, we were embracing, and secondly, their technology was down a ton. So those two, some people say, were you lucky? And I say, kind of make your own luck, where we had the team that could scale an infrastructure, and we were smart enough to know to partner with somebody. And actually, we partnered when we launched the site with Microsoft. So everyone's saying, you got to use this language and this language. We're like, we don't know what language to do, but all we know is these Microsoft guys seem pretty smart. So we're going to use whatever language they say because they're willing to help us. So that's what we did, and we launched using SQL and .NET, and to this day, we're still leveraging our technology partnership with Microsoft. And it's another lesson I like to tell a lot of people, which is, understand what your strengths are and leverage and all the brilliance out there, and there's so many people you can connect with and learn from, and we did that. So, leveraging Microsoft, we actually had a semi-stable site, although I still think it's slow. My CTO yells at me still, but too slow, it's got to get faster. But still, we were up and we were available, and we were able to embrace these different groups that were getting deleted off all these other sites. And the other interesting thing about MySpace was we spent no money on content because the users created all the content, and no money on marketing, which was great. So it was a completely viral company, and again, going back to Econ 101, very profitable from the beginning. So the other thing we decided to do is, hey, we're pretty good marketers, but our users are way better than we are. So the same users that were getting deleted from Friendster, we embraced and created tool sets for. So I don't know if you guys are in bands or know people that are in bands or musicians, but those guys are the best marketers in the world. They tell everybody, when they're playing, who they're playing, send out email lists. really, really were very inspirational to helping us grow. And the same thing goes with models, goes to car lovers, goes to whatever affinity group that they're passionate about. They could spread the word a lot better than we could. So what we did is we embraced these groups and built tool sets for these groups and let them market for us. So that was fantastic as we grew, and the site was up. So those two things, I think, were part of the reasons why we were successful, as well as understanding what was going on in the marketplace and putting the complete set of tools. The other thing I think was successful was the team. A lot of times entrepreneurs go out and they keep all the equity and maybe they get one other partner. I kind of see that as it's a little bit more risky. I like to spread out the equity and increase the chances of success. So what we did right away was we've always been a team of 5, and we have Aber, who's our technologist, who knows how to build things and scale things and develop things, and he sleeps the least because we always call him when his site's down at 3 in the morning. Probably doesn't like us anymore. But he's like kind of our guy, and I knew what our limitations were, and we made him an equity partner. There was Tom, who we discovered at XDrive, who was this guy that came in and told us why XDrive was the worst user experience and wrote up a reason why, how to fix it and change it, and we're like, man, who is this guy? We got to hire him immediately. So he's the guy that's our product visionary, understands what works on the internet. Again, I have some expertise in this, but I'm going to rely on people that are much, much more bright than I am at that skill set. There's Colin, who ran our sales. There was Chris, who ran our strategy and marketing. And there was myself, who ran our business development and operations. So again, I thought another reason for success was we had this great team. All of us have different skill sets and knew how to work with each other to leverage that and to kind of like go off and do our own thing to make it successful. Another interesting fact, as I talk about the journey of MySpace and how we got going, again, it was about self-expression, but also about, we kind of go off 3 words. One is self-expression, one is connections, and one is discovery. Again, everything we do on MySpace is the ability for users to discover what interests them. And besides each other, discovering inherently in a young person's life, music's very important. So discovering music for yourself or what your friends are listening to is very important. Discovering political issues, extremely important. Film, music, the genres go on, fashion. So again, it's all about discovery, connecting with each other, and self-expression. And I think we kept those 3 themes throughout the business. And we also kept the theme, everything we create in our product roadmap is 100% of what our users ask for. There's some great location-based mobile tracking service that we have to launch, people would tell us. There's some great TV show, we got to push the OC or American Idol on Fox or whatever it is, but our users just wanted more pictures. So we're like, that's what we're doing next, is adding more pictures. So it was very interesting. If you look at our roadmap, and even our roadmap today, number 1 on it is to make our profile page better with some great new features, and number 2 is to make the user homepage better. So it goes back to kind of where our traffic is, and what we're good at is to keep it simple, to give the users the features they want, don't make it too complex. And I think those were some of the key success factors as well. So we got the company going in 2003, growing about 1,000 users a day, and all of a sudden we hit this inflection point. I think it's when Friendster went totally down, and we started getting to like 10,000 users a day. And again, you really do see a hockey stick growth and the network effect when something catches on, how popular it gets. And our competitor too, Facebook, same thing happened with them. It got extremely popular in the college campuses, and you could see the growth when something catches on. So again, it was understanding what was going on in the market and being there at the right time. The other thing we did is, as it was growing, again, I go back to kind of splitting up the equity, is we realized, hey, we were part of this public company, they own shares, I own shares with my partners, but we didn't think we had enough as the company was growing to get us to the promised land. What we really wanted to do, we're like, man, we have a chance to be like 1/10 of the size as Yahoo, not knowing that we'd passed Yahoo a couple months ago. So we decided, and that's in the US, which is fun to say. So what we did is, again, people were like, are you guys crazy? You're going to get diluted again? And we said, yes, we got to find the right venture capital partner that could make more introductions, get us more distribution, get us better partnerships, get us a better product set, and just to build up the team more rounded. So actually we went out and took the trip up to Sand Hill Road, met with a bunch of venture capitalists, and chose the guys at Red Point Ventures who are just fit really well with the company, and we brought them on to help the company grow. And I think, again, that was an amazing move, a great move, And hopefully we'll have VCs more in Southern California. That's a whole separate topic, trying to get Southern California more vibrant so we don't have to keep going up north. But on that note, they were fantastic for us. They gave us credibility, guidance, third-party help, and in fact, at the time, actually helped us figure out our exit strategy. It was amazing this was early the summer of 2005, one big media company, I'm not supposed to say the name, maybe it's Viacom, approached us for 6 months on diligence, and I was in charge of the diligence, asking questions and understanding our numbers and going back and forth. And we're like, what's the offer? You know, we definitely, and they're like, hey, you guys are going to be the new MTV. This is going to be amazing. What a perfect marriage. And we're like, okay, but what's the deal? And they never could get it together. And it was amazing to see, I kind of knew working with media companies, but how bureaucratic and slow the process was. On the flip side, we got introduced to News Corp, and they got wind of our talks with the other media company. And within one meeting, one day, their leader, Mr. Murdoch, came to us and said, what's the number you need? We told him the number. He said, he's like, done deal. It's got to be done by Sunday. So you got to see the both sides of it, where this guy, on a Tuesday we met him, on a Tuesday we met him, Thursday I was in some law firm in Century City with 95 bankers on Thursday, and nobody slept till Sunday, and we announced it Monday morning. So you kind of see both sides of the deal, but again, it kind of gave me a sense, and again, now this is my third time back at Fox, so never burn bridges, because I'll always come back. And this time it was much more exciting, but this time, you got to see the different media companies and how they work, and it's truly been fantastic to be part of News Corp, actually. And someone asked me, like, how is it, being part of a big company like that? You guys were MySpace, you were cool, you were in this garage, now you're part of Fox, and isn't that weird? The answer really is, he let us be autonomous. He let us run the company completely separate. Every feature we do is what we want, is what our users want us to launch, and it's been a great marriage, and he does that with other divisions he has. So I couldn't be more happy to be part of News Corp, because I could leverage the amazing things News Corp has, benefits and international markets, and growing the company a lot quicker, but we could run the company autonomously. So that was fantastic, and it was just awesome to watch that deal get wrapped up that quickly. And I always tell people, when you look at the history books, and when my kids grow up and they look at this crazy internet boom and bust, I think 3 companies are going to be, at the title of each chapter. One will be Microsoft, obviously the biggest company to start out of nowhere with Bill Gates, and built the biggest software business in the world. And you'll flip a chapter and you'll see Google, who I think is an amazing company, and obviously they've created the biggest impact on the financial markets and have a great market cap. And I think third, you will see MySpace, and I think our legacy will be, we had the biggest impact on society. I think people now have grown up on MySpace, they're living their lives online, they're on MySpace, and some are on Facebook, and some are on Bebo and others, but certainly we've defined a new category where people are living online, where they're expressing themselves, where they're connecting, and where they're discovering information, and it's pretty exciting that we created that type of environment. So that was a great journey there on MySpace, and which brings me to about 5 months ago, maybe about a year ago, to what I'm doing today. Mr. Murdoch and some of the other people at News Corp came to myself and my partners and said, how come we kind of noticed that all our MySpace users at the time were using this video site, and it was called YouTube, and we saw it emerge out of nowhere, and we're quickly going, man, this thing's going to take off. So we tried to create our own YouTube and our own video site, and what happened was we pulled off our smartest engineers, and we're like, hey, Mary, hey, Johnny, make us this YouTube thing's taking off. We got to do it. Our users could use whatever they want. They're using YouTube because they like it. Why don't we just create our own, and they'll use our own product because we can market it better. But if something happened, the site went down, or we got spammed or something, and we had to pull them back off and back into the mothership. So it was really hard to innovate in that type of organization. And YouTube, obviously, we've all seen what's happened with them, and the News Corp guys keep reminding me, they created a $2 billion company. It's worth probably more than that now. And we also noticed another company kind of emerge where our users were now storing all their photos on this company called Photo Bucket and Image Shack. And we saw the same thing happen again, which was, man, this thing's taken off. We got to do this again. So quickly we grabbed Mary and John and put them in a room and said, build us this Photo Bucket-like site. And again, the site, maybe I think it went down that month, and we had to pull them back onto the site. So it was really hard to innovate, and this theme kept coming up. So the question was asked, myself and my partners, we got to figure out a way where, these programmers don't keep getting pulled off. We got to create new web assets for News Corp. And we got excited about the idea. What I love doing is building versus maintaining. So we had the unbelievable opportunity to actually create what I think is going to be an amazing incubator. And when I say incubator, I just think of it as a place where we could actually start these new companies. So what I did is myself and one of my other partners decided, like, hey, this is great, let's build these companies. And I could have done anything I wanted to, but I wanted to stay in News Corp only because when I build something, I like to give myself the best chances of success. And back in the early days, it was spreading out the equity, bringing on more partners. And today, the same kind of model in my mind is there. And the best chance of success is to stay within News Corp, leveraging all those amazing assets they have. And they keep getting more. They're looking at Yahoo, and they just bought Wall Street Journal and Dow Jones. And to leverage these assets to market these companies that I create. So what I'm doing is I have a web incubator. We're going to launch 4 to 5 new companies a year, leveraging all this great distribution across News Corp to get a lot of eyeballs to the sites. And one thing I've noticed through this journey is in any category you enter into, if you want to enter into a category on gaming, on mobile, on a social network, on an application, there's going to be so many competitors, and how do you stand out and how do you win? Well, of the 100 companies, probably only 3 are going to get funding. And of those 3, maybe 1 will get distribution. So again, the most important thing I think goes back to distribution. And luckily, that's why I chose to be where I am today. And the venture is called Slingshot Labs. And again, I'm there for this distribution. And it goes back to, someone asked me, well, not all of us have this opportunity to have this great distribution. How do I do it? And again, I think it's partnering, figuring out the right niche, partnering with someone that has distribution, making a sweetheart deal for them, so it's hard for them not to give you that opportunity. But distribution is clearly, to me, the hardest thing out there to compete with, because I might not have the best product of a social networking product, but we have all the eyeballs, so it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Or if there's 100 people in any category, the 3 that got funded might not be usually they're not the 3 best product. Number 67 is, but it never got funded and it never made it to market. So again, I look back at distribution, networking, and the team that really makes the products go. So today, which another really good thing is, we started MySpace in Santa Monica. Kind of brought us good luck, good energy. After the merger, we moved to Beverly Hills, so we started this new venture, part of News Corp. I'm back in Santa Monica. Hopefully, lightning will strike twice in some of these companies I'm launching. And we just got going a few months ago. We're going to do 5 companies this year. We're looking for, as I'm here today, just a hint, we're looking for the best and the brightest to help build and launch these companies. And we think, with the goal is we want to create the next YouTubes, the next photo buckets, and so on. So that's what I'm up to today, and I'm back to building versus maintaining, so I'm excited about it, very passionate about it. And it's good to be at this school back here, because just being on this campus, I could smell the ocean again and see the bikers. It's a lot of energy. I like to surround myself with energetic situations, and it's truly good to be back here on campus.
So I actually run an internet company that's in the Web 2.0 space. One question I had for you is sort of the contrast, you probably get this one a lot, but with Facebook, and Facebook now sort of opening its platform up, and sort of MySpace's reaction to that, and then specifically, what you're doing with Slingshot in your portfolio companies, if there's any sort of hot ones that you could elaborate on that you're working on.
Sure. Facebook, I haven't heard of them yet. Hold on, let me write that down. Slingshot, Facebook. Yeah, certainly Facebook's done a great job. It's a great job in general, start there. Starting with the college market, and they're kind of out there claiming, they're opening it up to a lot of app developers, which they are. The one thing that's interesting on MySpace is we've always been open. We've always let other companies kind of start. I mentioned YouTube, I mentioned photo buckets. Again, we always let our users find the right products that might not even be our own products and use those as much as possible. So the response usually is, hey, we've always been open. Again, we're always going to be open. And they started out with an application program, which I thought was great on a lot of levels, and it was also annoying on a lot of levels, where a lot of their apps were like zombies chasing each other around and apps that would annoy the user base. So with that said, they do have some great apps and some useful apps, and I like the app market. I think there's going to be an opportunity for application developers to really create huge companies and huge multiples in their companies by writing applications on Facebook and on MySpace. And there's really useful applications, and they're going to get better and better. So I like what they're doing on that end. And MySpace has recently opened up their platform and are working with application developers to work on applications, including, to the second part of your question, at Slingshot, what we're up to, what some of the ventures are. As I mentioned, we're going to do about 4 to 6 a year. And one of them is actually a company to create these type of applications. It's called App Lounge. We have 6 applications live today. Probably have about 10 more in the works. And what we're doing is writing not zombie or food fighting applications, but what we think really useful, interesting, fun applications. Could be a game like a Texas Hold'em or a Scrabble, or it could be a interesting way to figure out how you're connected to other users. It could be an educational one. It could be a green application to figure out how green or how you could be greener. So there's a lot of things we're working on, and we think that's a huge market opportunity. 2 leaders in the space. One's called Slide.com, and one's called RockYou. And both of them have gone out, attracted a lot of eyeballs and users, and made great names for themselves and great valuations. And I think that's a big opportunity because you can monetize that. What some people don't know, and it's public so I could tell you, is unfortunately my boss said we'll do $1 billion this year in revenue, which was a big mark, but we actually did $800 million this year, and it's all public. So there's a lot of money to be made on advertising, and most of it's advertising on these sites. So if you get enough eyeballs, another interesting stat that I've happened to memorize is about 60% of people's free time now is online. So versus, I think it's 12% of the ad dollars are online. So there's this big shift, and I'm very bullish as I'm actually launching new web companies that the advertising is going to get more and more lucrative. I also think we'll be able to target better based on where people are surfing and what their interests are and serve up more relevant ads, which will in turn lead to more monetization and better CPM. So I'm bullish on that market, and it's funny, my friend who works at NBC, who's the president, has 2 teenagers, and he says he has to yell at his teenagers to get out of the room and watch TV, because they won't come out and watch TV. It's like, I work at NBC, I'm making these shows, get out of your room and watch TV, which was the opposite of what I had, but you know, it's just interesting, everybody's online, and I think the ad dollars will follow, so it's pretty bullish, and that's one idea we have. All right, right here, the Dodger hat.
All right. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your efforts to, improving social networking and all that. And I would ask that in contributing to social progression, do you think that social networking sites such as MySpace lower anxiety about relationships, and do they lead to quicker intimacy and more disclosure among friends and strangers alike that can, build the entrepreneurship and the social networking and
What was the first part? I'm sorry.
Do you think that social networking like MySpace, lower anxiety in the relationship, friends and all that whatnot, does it lower anxiety about relationships, and does it lead to quicker intimacy and more disclosure? Does it help out that way?
Right. That's a good question. I think, definitely people are expressing themselves online and meeting up a lot quicker than they probably were 10 to 15 years ago. I think it's about education, and I think people could find out a lot about somebody before they decide to meet up, and people have relationships online that they turn to offline relationships later. So I definitely think, as we're connected, you have the opportunity to meet people a lot quicker than you did 20 years ago. So there's definitely obviously going to be more connections made quicker. There's going to be a desire to meet people quicker, desire to network, if it's socially, for dating, for business, for any type of avenue you go through. Certainly there's sites like LinkedIn that have created a great business networking site as well. So I definitely think people do have this shift where people are meeting people a lot easier and they feel more comfortable with it as they've grown up online. Certainly, I didn't have any of this stuff when I was at UCSB. Sometimes I wish we did. But I think it's just a more interesting and easier way to live your life online. And then again, it comes back to education on how well you're educated. Should you just go meet somebody down at Woodstock that you just met for the first time? I don't know, maybe you should bring up some friends. And it goes back to just life lessons, and we try to educate both the parents and the users of the site. And the site grew so quickly, we actually now, the site's only been around for 4.5 years, or MySpace has, And Facebook's doing the same thing, where it's really about education. We have safety tips. We have parent guidebooks. We work with local law enforcement. There's 200 million users on MySpace, and 70 million unique visitors come to MySpace every month. So it's a huge amount of people, and there's always people that they're doing things they shouldn't be doing, and there's a lot of people that are using the site for positive things. So again, it's a mixture. So it comes back to education and understanding those tips and getting better and better at it. Great question. Yeah.
Now that you've been on sort of both sides of the investment table, I was wondering if you could talk about the relationship between people starting companies and the sort of Series A and angel investors, and what each side looks for in the other.
Yeah, great question. So I think today, which is better, is the first time I went with Xdrive, everyone was just giving us money, and it was just, hey, how many users are going to use it? Today, it's about business models, about how you could show profitability quickly, and I think the investments are still there. I mean, our economy's in a lot of you are taking economics classes. Our economy's a little bit in a kind of a neutral position. I like to say neutral, but a lot of deals are getting done on the internet and in our space. So there's still a ton of companies getting funded, a lot of positive excitement for it. As I firmly believe, as I said, I think the ad dollars will catch up with the user engagement. So I'm bullish on companies that can get a lot of users. So I think the investments are happening. I think a lot of my colleagues feel the same way. It's just about sound business models, how you're going to get, as I mentioned, the keyword distribution to your site. So when you're talking to investors and you're talking to Series A individuals, it's really good to have a marketing plan as well as a business plan. Those are the two important things. Like, hey, this is how the company makes money, but more importantly is how in the world are you going to get users to come to your site and all this noise and all these other companies out there. So I almost think that's the most important thing, is how you're actually going to penetrate the market and get users. And if it's based on a niche or a product or a partnership, however that's put together, I think that's probably the most compelling story you could tell an investor.
About the startup looking at the investors, what should they be looking at?
Startup looking at investors, that's a good point. I think it goes back to not the money at all. It's really what they can do for you as far as, again, figuring out, getting those relationships to get you distribution, to get you the key employees that you want. I always like people that are close. Like, we picked Redpoint because they were in Silicon Valley, but also they had an LA office and an LA presence, and they were the entertainment space. And there's a lot of people they were working with that we needed to work with. So again, you got to think about 6 months to a year out, because nobody thinks 3 years or 5 years out in our world. But you got to think about who you need to meet, what you need to accomplish, and which investor is really going to get you there. And then I think the second thing is fit. I mean, a lot of these guys kind of might not understand where you and your partner's philosophy is, where you're coming from. And it's, can you sit in a room and, you got to be honest and feel free to, you don't want to go to a board meeting and say, hey, we got to present this the right way. You got to tell them your problems, because they're there to help. And you want someone that you feel comfortable, hey man, this is hard, or I can't get this done, or we're trying to get the technology piece, and you want them there helping solve your problems. So you got to feel really comfortable with the person you select.
Hi, as you know, Facebook and MySpace have two very different looks in terms of their profile and home pages. And so my main question to you is, what kind of groups do you think MySpace is attracting, and what kind of groups of people is Facebook attracting? And why have you commercialized so much of your MySpace home profile? Like, there's constantly videos playing of new movies or new products coming out. And why do you think Facebook has not increased that kind of momentum? And what kind of social or profitable objectives do you think you have compared to Facebook? That's what
Okay, 3 questions. Hold on, I think I got them all down. Social responsibilities, revenue on the page, and the first one is how we're different. Okay, so I think on how we're different, I think Facebook, MySpace is more about living your life online in a lot of different ways. It starts with, you could connect and discover, I think, a lot easier on MySpace. You could go out and browse and find people with common interests. You can't do that on Facebook. You could go out and discover music, discover impact. You go to the site called Impact Channel, discover videos, et cetera, on MySpace. So I think it's more of a social site. I think Facebook's more kind of a utility, and that's how I've met Mark, and he describes it as well. Sometimes he says we're not competitors, and I say that's a little crazy, but so I think, and I think MySpace has a lot of those networking features, and we're coming out with more. So I do think, and Facebook's growing a lot, and they've kind of leveled out at around, in the US, around 30 million, 32 million visitors a month. We kind of grew like crazy and leveled out around 70, so we're about twice the size. So I think more people have more of an interest in the more robust things that we have about social discovery as well as networking. I do think that as far as on our pages, there's definitely a lot of, we're trying to figure out the right amount of ads to serve on a page. I think there's a lot of ads on a lot of pages, but I also think we're working on, and there's a lot of opportunities to serve better ads instead of just the banners on the top, but serve relevant ads that you're interested in, or have the user tell us what they're interested in because they know it's a free site. They're going to get ads. They might as well tell you, hey, if you're going to serve me ads, I'm not interested in fast foods. I'm more interested in traveling, and that's what you should serve me. So we think we have a lot of responsibility and work to do, both on behavioral ads, relevant ads, as well as letting the users pick the ads. And we've had going back to kind of our business model, we always set out we want to make revenues. We don't want to do things that agitate the users. We don't send our users emails. We don't do pop-ups. We don't do this co-reg stuff. What we do is, what we've always done is we'll serve ads on the site. Hopefully the brands will be immersed within the profile pages in a better way, and we'll continue to serve ads there. I think Facebook's starting to serve ads, and they have a lot of pressure to make money, and you'll see ads on their site as they continue to grow. As far as social responsibility, I think we have a ton of work, and we've done a ton of things, and it is really important for us to bring, when we have that many eyeballs and that many users, is to help them discover, connect, learn as much as possible about a lot of social issues. And the users are the best suppliers of that content. I mean, just the user-generated content that's created on MySpace is amazing. And we try to highlight that, and we try to direct people to engage and discover and get educated about issues, political issues, culture issues, educational issues, whatever it may be. So that's really important.
Another question I'm sure you've heard. How do you feel how would you respond to criticism that partnering with such a large media corporation, Fox News Corp, might actually limit the possibility of discovery for the now more than 100 million users, as that they're only seeing advertisements for Fox movies or television shows, and how that might actually limit their what content they believe is out there?
Good question. Yeah, when we sold to a company, we were nervous. We're like, oh man, we're gonna have to show all News Corp stuff, and it's actually been quite the opposite. Although we strike deals with News Corp entities, each one is its own business. So it's like we have to negotiate with the movie guys, and they have to buy banners on our site, as well as the Sony guys and the Disney guys. Television shows, we promote the OC and American Idol, but we also promote The Office and Lost, and so we work with all the networks, and we're very agnostic. We just want to, again, get the best advertisements for a user base that make the most sense and monetize the site. We're also nervous initially because Fox gets this notion of being very conservative, and our audience is very less conservative. And but you also look at, nobody really goes to a movie and says, hey, I'm going to go see a Fox movie, or I'm going to watch The Family Guy, and they don't know it's Fox. It's funny, it's Family Guy, it's The Simpsons, it's American Idol. It's really the brands itself. So we weren't too concerned about the corporate name behind it, because at the end of the day, most users and consumers get associated with the given content or the given show versus the people behind it.
Hello, my question is, as a web entrepreneur myself, what is the best way to expand your market for your website and be able to get increased traffic and readership overall? And how did you do that with MySpace so quickly?
It goes, I think the best way and the way we did it was embracing the early adopters and have them kind of be evangelists for you. So I'm not sure what the website is you have, but certainly from MySpace, again, it goes back to embracing the bands and the musicians and the models and the people that were into their cars, and gave them a place where they could actually showcase what they were trying to promote. And certainly that's led to a lot of, because what you want is the viral growth. A lot of times you could buy banner advertising and spend a bunch of money and not break even and lose at the end of the day. So it's really important. I think you try to get into these viral type programs that actually drive results and only pay when you market yourself, rather than run a network or a campaign where you spend a bunch of money hoping to get users. you should only pay when you could convert. So I think that's another important piece of marketing, and there's a lot of programs like that.
Okay, my question is, it seems like there's been a lot of lawsuits lately with people suing companies like MySpace for what their users do or show online, like the videos of the teens fighting and stuff. And I personally disagree with like MySpace getting into regulating what their users do. I was wondering how you feel about that, and where do you think this is going to take companies like MySpace and stuff in the future with regulations as far as that goes?
That's a good question. Yeah, there's been a lot of lawsuits, and we've been named in a lot of lawsuits. Luckily, we haven't been found guilty of anything when there's teen fighting. It's the users creating the content, so we haven't been damaged in any way as a company. Well, what I will say is what we do is our bread and butter, our clients are Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's of the world. And as MySpace, there's a lot of pictures that get up that don't even make it to MySpace, if you could believe it, that we delete every day. Literally, there's 14 million images being uploaded, and there's 1 million videos being uploaded, and we screen them all and take down the inappropriate ones if there's nudity, if there's violence that our clients wouldn't like. So there's other sites you could go to for that. What we like to do is kind of take down anything we'd find our clients would find offensive. So although we always have kept it open, we've let our users create whatever they wanted to, self-expression-wise. We do have guidelines in terms of service. We've been able to be kind of cutting edge, I think. So there's a lot of interesting content that does make it to the site, and we'll always leave it up there. So I think it's just a balance of running the business and letting the users express themselves.
Josh, thanks for coming back to UCSB and just letting us be on your journey of MySpace, or at least taking us back to the beginning of that journey. And it seems like everyone's on MySpace, including myself, as a marketing of themselves within a market. What I'd like to ask is, with the recent court ruling in favor of MySpace against spamming and spammers, do you think that'll curb some of the spammers' interests in sending spam through MySpace in any kind of form?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, again, we want to create the best user experience possible, and unfortunately, there's a ton of spammers and phishers that send ridiculous amounts of messages and just ruin the experience for our users, and obviously, it gets us upset. I think the only real way to combat it, because I'd hate to think that it's gone, and I'd be naive to think it's gone, but these guys make a ton of money doing it. And what we have to do is keep working on technology and ways to combat it. And we've bolstered our spamming team and our phishing team. And we've told our users, hey, make sure the URL at the top does say MySpace, and don't re-enter your account name. So it's just more about education. And I think as a lot of us have been, unfortunately, all of us have probably been spammed, and a lot of us have been phished. But I think the more it happens, the more smart we'll become as a society, which will also lessen the impacts of those spammers. Unfortunately, we won a lawsuit for I couldn't believe it, for $250 million, but we'll never find the spammers. They're probably off the country somewhere. So it's going to be impossible to collect, but hopefully it's a deterrent. We've also arrested a few people that we've actually found and discovered have hacked our site and spammed our site, and I think that's been a little bit of a deterrent. Right when we got going really well, when you're that big of a site, Google's targeted, we're targeted, Facebook's targeted. A lot of spammers get excited about hacking into or kind of causing mayhem on sites like ours. So hopefully these lawsuits and arrests do become a deterrent, because, again, it's not good for our community. But great question.
We're just about out of time. If I could squeeze in one question.
Of course.
If you had just one piece of advice to give our UCSB undergrads who are interested in being entrepreneurs, and especially web-based entrepreneurs, what would it be?
One word, I'd say networking. Keep networking with the people you're at school with. It'll come back to help you in many ways. It's helped me in many ways. And always stay energetic and positive. I think those are that was not one word, but those are the themes.
Thank you very much for coming.
same religion that's capable of hideous acts of destruction